Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are being erased from the history of Frogmore Cottage.
Made it very clear that he wants Harry back. You know, we saw it in Harry's book. Don't make my life a misery, but don't make my final years a misery, boys.
The final traces of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle from the British royal family are being erased. And this is far more significant.
If she can't build some kind of connection to someone in the UK.
We are on the Freedom Flight. We are leaving Canada and we are headed to Los Angeles.
Remember Freedom Flight? Well, Harry's situation doesn't look so free these days. Reports surrounding Frogmore Cottage are sparking a lot of discussion, and the changes planned for the property are being viewed by many as a powerful signal from the royal side. For some royal watchers, it feels like yet another reminder of just how far things have shifted since Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties. Here's what's reportedly happening at the house. Frogmore Cottage underwent a major renovation during Harry and Meghan's time there, with upgrades that reportedly included modernised electrical systems, updated utility connections, and redesigned living spaces.
A huge blow-up, a big fight around Harry's plans for summer return to the UK, including spending time at Balmoral, potentially, and reconnecting with the King.
Now, plans are said to be moving forward to return the property to a layout closer to what it was originally intended to be before the couple moved in. And that's the detail that has people talking. The property isn't simply being left untouched or sitting vacant. Instead, resources are reportedly being invested to convert it back into multiple staff residences. To many observers, that makes this more than just a construction project. It looks like another chapter in the ongoing separation between the Sussexes and royal life.
It seems, as it's been revealed through The Sun, that assessments are being made of the property to see if it can be split yet again into either multiple residences.
That's why some commentators aren't even calling it a simple renovation anymore. In their view, it looks more like a complete reset of the property, with every major change being reviewed and parts of the home reportedly being returned to an earlier layout. The symbolism of that move has sparked plenty of debate among royal watchers. But here's the detail that really got people talking. During discussions about Prince Andrew's future housing arrangements, reports claimed that Frogmore Cottage was presented as a possible option.
And basically to erase every single trace of Harry and Meghan on the property. And that is a really fascinating revelation.
And yes, we're talking about Prince Andrew. According to those reports, he wasn't interested in making the move. That decision immediately triggered fresh speculation about the property's status and reputation within royal circles. One source summed up the situation by saying, "The place has sat empty for 3 years, and even Andrew didn't think it was fit to move into." That quote quickly spread because it raised an obvious question. If Frogmore is a perfectly usable royal property, why has it become such a complicated topic? That's where the story gets even more interesting.
And of course, there was a lot of criticism about what Harry and Meghan, let's say, did. You know, they had to add a yoga room, a 5,000-pound copper tub, and all these sorts of things because Soho House, of course, was involved.
For many observers, Frogmore Cottage has become more than just a house. It has turned into a symbol of the split between Harry and the royal institution, and every new development seems to add another layer to that ongoing story. Here's the part that some of the more sympathetic headlines tend to overlook. Critics of Harry's situation argue that his interest in maintaining ties to the UK isn't necessarily about nostalgia, family traditions, or memories of royal life. In their view, the bigger story is about long-term stability, future opportunities, and where he and Meghan see their place in the years ahead. Then there's the ongoing debate around their business ventures.
I still am absolutely flummoxed by Meghan Markle's obsession with Soho House. I feel like I need to stay there one time and maybe, just maybe, I will understand, but I doubt it.
Meghan's lifestyle brand, as ever, generated a huge amount of attention when it launched, but reactions have been mixed depending on who you ask. Supporters point to the strong publicity and loyal fan base, while critics question whether the products can maintain momentum over time in an increasingly crowded market. One product in particular became a major talking point online: decorative matches. The launch sparked countless comments across social media, with some people expressing curiosity, while others responded with jokes and skepticism.
And so since then, the house has sat vacant, of course, as well. This was a suggested property for Andrew to move into, and he didn't. And I think he ended up with something worse because of it.
The fact that certain products were offered as part of bundles became another source of discussion. For critics, bundled products can be interpreted as a sign that a brand is working hard to drive sales and encourage larger purchases. Supporters, however, note that bundling is a common retail strategy used by companies at every level. Either way, the conversation around the brand continues to generate attention, and that's become a story in itself. There's even a theory making the rounds among royal commentators that tries to explain why the pressure around Harry and Meghan's business ventures gets so much attention.
You should have just taken Frogmore Cottage. But it seems to be that people feel like, around the Crown Estate at least, that there's some bad juju connected to Frogmore Cottage, and particularly because of Harry and
The speculation goes like this. Some observers believe that a significant amount of time, effort, and resources may have been invested into building projects like As Ever, meaning the real payoff depends on whether those products continue to attract customers over the long term.
which is that, in order to sell stubborn inventory that's not selling, sometimes it's a fairly good idea to offer something free with it. And I believe that's what's happening here.
It's important to note that this is speculation rather than a confirmed fact, but it has certainly become a popular topic of discussion online. So when critics look at the situation in Montecito, they paint a much tougher picture. They point to the costs that can come with maintaining a large California estate, funding private security, managing business projects, and supporting a high-profile lifestyle. Add in the uncertainty that comes with media deals, brand launches, and changing public interest. And some commentators argue that the financial picture may be more complicated than many people assume.
I'm pretty sure the matches are free with the candles. And that's not a bad idea. I'm not criticizing it. But what's interesting to consider as well is I think this reflects how poorly the brand overall is doing.
That's why every move Harry makes is analysed so heavily. When he talks about family, reconciliation, or reconnecting with the UK, supporters see someone trying to repair important relationships. Critics, on the other hand, sometimes wonder whether there could be additional factors involved. Those competing interpretations have fueled endless debate. And then there's the issue of royal proximity. For years, Harry and Meghan were among the most talked about figures connected to the monarchy. Whether people supported them or criticised them, their royal connection generated enormous public interest. Many observers believe that connection carried significant influence and visibility, and they've closely watched how things have evolved since the couple stepped back from royal duties. People also still remember the phrase Harry used during that period, freedom flight. At the time, it became a powerful symbol for supporters who saw it as a fresh start. But critics have since revived those words and attached a very different meaning to them. Years later, that phrase continues to spark reactions, proving that some public moments can follow a person for a very long time. Not for a second, according to Harry's critics. They argue that the public hasn't forgotten the decisions that were made when he and Meghan stepped away from royal duties, and that's why the debate around his security arrangements remains so intense even years later. At the centre of the dispute is Harry's long-running effort to challenge changes to his UK security provisions. Supporters argue that his unique profile and public visibility justify additional protection when he visits Britain. Critics see it very differently. Their position is straightforward. Harry is no longer a working royal, and therefore taxpayers should not be expected to fund the same level of security that accompanies active members of the monarchy.
Sort of view on why people are so fascinated in the sort of fall of the House of Sussex is it doesn't reflect particularly well on the human heart, but there's a great concept in Greek tragedy and Greek drama called the chastisement of hubris.
That argument continues to resonate with a portion of the public because it touches on larger questions about responsibility, privilege, and choice. Critics often frame the issue this way. If someone voluntarily steps away from an official role, they should also accept the consequences that come with that decision. Whether people agree or disagree, it's a debate that has remained remarkably heated. And here's why the issue attracts so much attention. Security isn't just about protection. for many observers, it represents something much bigger. It affects how easily Harry can spend time in the UK, how often he can visit, and what kind of long-term relationship he can maintain with royal life going forward. That's why every development in the case is dissected from every possible angle.
Why people remain fascinated by this story? Why, on one hand, they're like, oh, I hate her, I never want to see the sight of her again, I can't bear it. But the other side, we can't help reading about the latest disaster.
But while discussions about security were dominating headlines, another story was reportedly attracting attention behind the scenes. According to various reports and speculation from commentators, Harry was looking toward the future and considering ways to reconnect with family members. Some accounts suggested he hoped for opportunities to spend more time in Britain and Europe, particularly as King Charles continued his cancer treatment. Reports and rumours even claimed that Harry wanted the children to have more opportunities to spend time with their grandfather and other relatives. Whether those reports were accurate or not, they added another layer of intrigue to an already complicated royal story, and they fueled fresh questions about what Harry's next move might be. And then came the information that, according to some reports and royal commentators, completely changed the mood of the situation. The claim making the rounds was that Prince William and Catherine were not interested in reopening old tensions and wanted a peaceful summer without additional family drama. Whether those reports were accurate or not, they quickly became a major talking point among royal watchers. According to the accounts being circulated, Meghan was deeply unhappy when she heard what was allegedly being said behind the scenes.
To befall them with the sight, and it's because of what they did to the royal family. It's because of the way they left, saying that they were going to redefine service, that this was going to be a whole new world, and we were just going to get to play in it.
What may have started as a disagreement reportedly grew into a much larger argument about the future, family relationships, and where Harry and Meghan should focus their attention going forward. One of the most talked about claims was that Meghan allegedly told Harry, "If you want to go to Britain, go ahead. But the kids and me, we are not going." That reported remark immediately grabbed attention because of what it seemed to represent. Think about the position that would place Harry in. On one side is the life he has built in California with his wife and children. On the other is the country where he grew up, along with the family ties that continue to draw public interest year after year. It's a complicated balancing act, and every reported disagreement seems to shine a spotlight on it. Reports also claimed that Meghan later travelled to Switzerland while Harry remained in California, although details surrounding those claims have been widely debated. Some people see this as nothing more than a normal disagreement between spouses.
Okay, according to reports, Meghan was furious after hearing claims that she and the children would not be welcomed by William and Catherine, leading to what began as a disagreement into what insiders describe as a showdown.
Others believe it points to a much deeper divide over Harry's long-term connection to Britain, a connection many observers argue has never completely disappeared. That's where many commentators say the real tension appears to be. According to the narrative often pushed by critics, Harry seems drawn toward maintaining connections with Britain and his past, while Meghan is frequently portrayed as being focused on building a future centered in California. Whether that characterization is fair or not, it's become a major theme in discussions about the couple. And when two people are believed to have very different priorities, speculation about the future naturally starts to grow. Then came the Switzerland trip, which generated its own wave of headlines. Geneva was reportedly expected to be an important appearance, with Meghan attending an event connected to global health discussions. Supporters viewed it as another opportunity for her to participate in international conversations and raise her profile on major issues.
Okay, now these claims come from an unnamed source and have not been independently verified, but let me just say something. It makes sense.
Critics, however, were watching closely and looking for signs of how much public interest the event would actually attract. That's where the reporting became controversial. One journalist who attended the event described the turnout in highly critical terms, and that description quickly spread across social media and royal commentary circles. According to those reports, attendance appeared smaller than some observers had anticipated. One particularly memorable line claimed there were barely enough people to fill a British phone box. That remark took on a life of its own and became one of the most repeated talking points surrounding the event. For critics, the optics were difficult to ignore. After weeks of anticipation and discussion, they argued that the event didn't generate the level of buzz many expected. And as the story continued to spread, the scrutiny only intensified. Then there was another detail that sparked debate online: a photograph from the event. Meghan was pictured alongside a foreign health official, and some commentators quickly focused their attention on that image rather than the event itself. Critics pointed to past controversies and allegations that had been associated with the official.
It makes sense. And also, the story that I did around Meghan and trying to connect with her arch nemesis to find favor with Queen Camilla makes a lot of sense, because she's not going to want to go if she can't have an ally.
Arguing that the optics were far from ideal. Supporters, meanwhile, noted that public figures often appear in large group settings and may not personally vet every individual present at an international event. Even so, the photo became a talking point almost immediately. For some observers, the incident raised a bigger question. Why do these kinds of stories seem to keep following Harry and Meghan? Critics argue that one reason could be the difference between operating as senior working royals and operating independently. When they were inside the royal system, there were reportedly teams of advisors, communication staff, and event planners helping manage appearances and identify potential risks before they became headlines. That's the point many royal commentators keep returning to. A major royal engagement can involve months of preparation, extensive background checks, and coordination from large teams working behind the scenes.
I think the messaging here is quite clear. There is no place for them within the royal household, within the royal entourage, no matter how much they try to portray themselves as pseudo-royals. And I think you can see quite clearly on the part of the Duke of Sussex.
Without that infrastructure, critics argue that mistakes, misunderstandings, or awkward optics can become much harder to avoid. At the same time, media coverage of Meghan's speech became a story of its own. Several outlets published very similar descriptions, with headlines praising the speech as powerful. Critics seized on that fact, claiming the coverage felt repetitive and overly polished. They argued that glowing headlines didn't necessarily reflect what was happening in the room itself. Supporters, however, maintained that the focus should remain on the speech and its message rather than on attendance numbers or headline wording. Either way, the contrast between the event's coverage and the criticism surrounding it fueled yet another round of intense debate. So with constant questions surrounding business ventures and public appearances, you might assume the door back to Britain is firmly closed. But that's exactly where a different narrative starts to emerge, and it's one that has royal watchers arguing more than ever. There are commentators, journalists, and royal insiders who believe the story isn't quite as simple as it looks. According to this view, signs may be pointing toward a gradual easing of tensions between Harry and parts of the royal family.
As I like to say, he really only knows how to be a prince, a soldier, and a polo player, none of which are very useful when you live in California. And that's why you're seeing increasingly these attempts to try to ape the royals and go on these trips to Australia.
They argue that while no dramatic reunion has taken place, there could be subtle signals suggesting that communication channels remain open behind the scenes. The people pushing this theory often point to what they see as a pattern. They note that Harry has, at various times, spoken publicly on issues such as anti-Semitism and social responsibility, topics that have also been addressed by senior royals. When similar themes appear in speeches or public statements from different members of the royal family, some observers immediately begin connecting the dots and wondering whether there is more coordination than the public realizes. Then came another example that fueled speculation. Commentators highlighted Harry's remarks on international issues, including Ukraine, and compared the timing to major diplomatic engagements involving King Charles. To some royal watchers, the overlap seemed striking enough to raise questions. Was it simply a coincidence, or was there a deeper connection that wasn't being discussed publicly? Of course, whenever these theories gain momentum, official responses tend to be far less dramatic. Publicly, there has been no confirmation of secret coordination, hidden agreements, or behind-the-scenes strategy. The standard explanation remains straightforward. Similar topics can arise independently, and timing alone doesn't prove anything. But that hasn't stopped the speculation. In the world of royal coverage, even the smallest overlap can trigger a wave of headlines, and every perceived clue gets examined as if it might reveal the next chapter in the ongoing Harry and the Monarchy saga. But supporters of that theory argue that it's an awfully big coincidence to happen over and over again. They point to repeated moments where Harry and King Charles appear to be discussing similar issues at roughly the same time, and they believe there's more to it than chance. According to this line of thinking, father and son may still have a greater awareness of each other's activities than the public realizes, with certain public messages serving as informal tests to see how people react before any larger move is made. Those who believe reconciliation is possible often point to King Charles himself as a key reason for their optimism. Charles has long been portrayed as someone who values family relationships, and Harry's own memoir described moments that suggested a father who wanted to avoid permanent division. Because of that, some commentators remain convinced that Charles would welcome an improvement in relations if the opportunity ever arose. But this is where the story becomes far more complicated. Even the commentators who believe a father-son reconciliation is possible often acknowledge that another major factor stands in the way: Prince William. According to numerous reports over the years, the relationship between William and Harry remains deeply strained. Commentators frequently describe a serious breakdown in trust following years of public disagreements, interviews, and revelations. Some reports claim William feels that private family matters were exposed during an already difficult period for the royal family, while others argue the true state of their relationship remains known only to those directly involved. Either way, many royal watchers believe that any broader reconciliation effort would face a significant challenge unless the relationship between the two brothers also improves. And many royal commentators believe that the biggest question isn't what King Charles wants, it's who will ultimately shape the monarchy's future. Among those observers, there's a common argument that Prince William's influence has grown significantly as he prepares for the responsibilities that come with one day becoming king. Whether that view is entirely accurate or not, it has become a major part of the conversation surrounding Harry's future relationship with the royal family. That's why some analysts remain skeptical whenever reports emerge about a possible return to the royal fold. Their reasoning is straightforward. Even if King Charles is personally open to improving relations, they believe any long-term solution would also require support from other senior members of the family. And according to many reports, the relationship between William and Harry remains one of the biggest unresolved issues in the entire story. For that reason, critics of the reconciliation narrative argue that talk of a smooth comeback is premature. They point to years of public disagreements, interviews, books, and ongoing tensions as evidence that repairing those relationships would be an enormous challenge. Then there's the public reaction. Polls, media coverage, and online discussions continue to show strong opinions on all sides. While some people support reconciliation and believe family disputes should eventually be resolved, others remain highly critical of Harry's actions since stepping back from royal duties. Far from disappearing, the debate appears as intense as ever, and that reality continues to shape every new chapter of the story. The more Harry appears in royal headlines, the more divided public opinion seems to become. Critics argue that repeated discussions about a potential return only strengthen opposition among people who believe the royal family should move forward without reopening old conflicts. Some longtime supporters of the monarchy have even said they would strongly oppose any move that restored Harry to an official royal role, showing just how emotional and polarizing this debate remains. And for those critics, the conversation goes far beyond Frogmore Cottage. They see the property changes as just one part of a much larger shift that began when Harry and Meghan stepped away from royal duties. Discussions about titles, official positions, website listings, and constitutional roles continue to spark fierce arguments whenever they resurface. While many of these issues remain matters of public debate rather than active policy, they highlight how strongly people feel about the future direction of the monarchy. That's why every new report, every rumour, and every public appearance keeps reigniting the same question: is there a path back? Or has that chapter already closed? Harry may continue making plans, weighing his options, and looking toward the future, but the reactions from both supporters and critics show that emotions around this story remain as intense as ever. Years after the dramatic departure that captured headlines around the world, the conversation is still far from over. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future updates. And let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take on the story.